Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another comic book spoiler review. And in the spirit of the recent Aquaman movie that just came out, I've done a full spoiler review, which is up on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. So check that out when you get the chance. And I really, because this is not the first Rebirth DC Rebirth comic that I covered. The first one technically would have been Flash Rebirth during the Godspeed arc, so you can check out my thoughts on that up on the channel. And of course, I've gone through at least several DC comic reviews, a couple of Elseworlds, things of that nature. But as I mentioned many times, if you really want to get into like DC for the first time, my highly recommended suggestion would be starting off with DC Rebirth comics, so that way you can get your footing. They did quite a few for several characters, so that way you can get your footing, get a bit of understanding, then you can pretty much hop around whichever way you so deem to. Because like, if because there's plenty of Batman stuff that you can easily get into at any point, because it's like a plethora. But if you want to get into Flash for the first time, read Flash Rebirth, then you can hop around to other Flash stories like Flashpoint or Flash of Two Worlds, things like that nature. Or you want to get into Wonder Woman for the first time, Wonder Woman Rebirth is a good starting off point. Then you can get into like Wonder Woman Earth 1, or I think, what was it, Wonder Woman Dead Earth, something like that. There's plenty of stuff. So it's a little tougher with Marvel, but I think Marvel Now will probably be the closest thing I can think of for jumping on points for certain characters, because there's like so many number ones. But DC was kind of smart with certain stuff. Like, even though I don't care for the section of DC where it's like DC New 52 stuff, majority of that stuff I did not care for. But you understand, we say like New 52 Batman is very different from DC Rebirth Batman, even though they try to like bring everything, because Rebirth is trying to bring everything back to what people are familiar with. And because 52 is trying to limit everything, because like, oh, it's too many Earths and too many this and that and the other, so let's truncate everything. And for the most part, did not work. I didn't personally care for it. They switched up certain people's personalities or mindsets. Like, Superman wasn't behaving like Superman that we like. It seems, I don't want to say hard edge or anything like that, but I don't know. It's like he's dating one woman. This is weird. I don't know. It's just like, there's certain things that's like, okay, we made a mistake. Let's try to circle back to people are more familiar with. Not that they've forgotten everything, but they did a perfect job of like, okay, blending certain things. It's like, okay, here's what, and it's kind of like brought it to like a good status quo that people are comfortable with. There's also a point where they took away Superman's red trunks. They eventually brought it back, but for a time they had to like get rid of the whole trunks. You'll see Superman show up a couple of times here and he doesn't have the trunks, because people thought, at a certain point, people thought it was weird that he wearing his underwear on the outside. But it's just like, I didn't mind it. It's like, it never bothered me, because the color scheme was a nice breakaway between that all straight blue and the red trunks, kind of broken that away as like a nice balance. A friend of mine disagrees, but it's like, I personally care that color scheme. The red trunks was perfectly fine. Didn't it? It's certain no notes when it comes to costumes. For Aquaman, he gone through several personality changes for many years, from that Super Friends looking thing where he's played like a joke. Then over time, he's, like Justice League Unlimited TV show. He's got a hook hand. He's kind of grizzled, and his personality is kind of like, dickish. Then in more, well, at least by Rebirth, thanks to Jason Momoa, really made Aquaman a little bit more stable. I want to say stable, like mentally stable. I've been saying like like a personality is like, okay, he is kind-hearted, but he's a monarch, he's a king, and from time to time he will exude that presence, but he's not like a dick about it. And there's a nice, thanks to Jason Momoa, I contribute partially to the success of Aquaman to make him relatable and palatable to the masses. It's DC Rebirth. Aquaman is like 66 issues. Only cover the first 15 with 3 arcs. There's too many to go through, so I'm just going to focus on like when it comes to like a very long running thing, comics, I usually like to stick to maybe up to 15, maybe 20 issues. That's long enough to get like a good heart of the story. So we're in Amnesty Bay. Oh, and by the way, this story, this run has been written by Dan Abnett and artist Brad Walker. I really love the art in this. Let's get that out the way. The art is just like a huge standout. It's like, it shows a bit like, drawn realistic looking people, but not over exaggerated, and not, like there's no bulbous, looking lips or nose or ears or anything like that. It's like nothing weird looking. It's just like a right proportions in terms of a person. So Aquaman is in Amnesty Bay with Mira, trying to set up because now that Atlantis has revealed itself, he's making plans to establish like a embassy and trying to bring itself into like a seat at the UN and in the larger world. And of course, you got Black Manta here, David Kane. Oh, almost forgot. We'll go over Aquaman's powers and abilities, because this dude can hang with the best of them, because he's always been played as a joke, because he's just a guy who talks to fish, but no, he's more than that, and he's actually is like a legit badass. Because you gotta get away from what we think of him in the golden age, where he just like rides seahorses, and as soon as he's out of water, he's weak and useless. No, you gotta get away from all that. It's not him. 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. And when you read along with DC Rebirth, always, at a certain point, little by little, they tried to start making Aquaman look like Jason Momoa, even with like the tattoos and stuff like that. Okay, here we go. Atlantean hybridized physiology. Like most Atlanteans, Arthur Curry is an offshoot Homo sapien who is biologically adapted to the deep ocean environment. For most Atlanteans, this means that they can breathe underwater, endure the pressures of the deep, among other adaptations, and can only spend a very limited time out of water. However, due to either Aquaman's hybrid nature or his royal heritage, he possesses a number of traits others of his mother's side of the species do not. For instance, he can spend an elongated time on dry land with little ill effect, and is shown to be 20 to 50 times stronger, faster, tougher, and more or less tireless compared to the others of his race. Also akin to other amphibian life is his ability to not only function indefinitely within water, but to easily withstand the crushing depths of the ocean deep, as well as the harsh environment of the sea itself. These powers make Arthur, among other things, a super Atlantean as well as superhuman. Superhuman durability, energy and heat resistance, superhuman stamina, senses, hearing, vision. Given the fact that he can see through like a pitch black abyss of the ocean trench is obviously, akin to that. Reflexes, speed. Arthur is phenomenally fast. It's phenomenally fast, be it while running or swimming. In the sea, he was able to outrace a spy plane owned by the operative, which can travel up to the speeds of Mach 5. He has also been able to race the Flash to a draw in a underwater race. Oh, I almost forgot to. I didn't. I did forget to mention in my Aquaman movie review, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, that him and Orm was running in a forest, and you see like a moment where Orm was Naruto running for some reason, and it's like they got this dude Naruto running, but he never ran on land before. So Aquaman's like, you gotta move your arms. So he did, and he's like outrunning Aquaman. He's the first time running, and he's just gunning it down in the forest. I forgot to mention that in my review, so I'm mentioning it now. Like, oh my god, that was so freaking funny. Superhuman speed. Aquaman's super Atlantean status enables him to lift in insurmountable amounts of weight. For instance, towing around fishing boats while tidal waves was crushing down upon them. He is capable of knocking the likes of Superman and Wonder Woman several dozen feet away with singular blows, lifting a 160,000 ton sea liner barehanded, and lifting and throwing a sunken cargo ship. Some of his greatest feats of might include pushing a tectonic plate over the entrance to the trench's lair and matching the legendary Hercules blow for blow. Super leaping, accelerated healing. Aquaman is able to recover from wounds far quicker than a human. It took a matter of days to recover from his fight with the Shaggy Man, which we'll cover soon. Latent magic. Aquaman has the underlying potentiality to cast and manipulate arcanium. Normally, he needs an item of power through which he can channel these abilities, like an imperial polearm or of national design. An effect which is usually accompanied with a bright golden glow in his eyes, but at times he's been able to use such talents even without his ceremonial trident, indicating this power is more innate than reliant on a channeling apparatus. Magic resistance. Life force connection. Aquaman has accessed one of the 7 hidden forces of reality related to the life-giving powers of the oceans themselves. This gives him access to great many undisclosed abilities, the likes of which has yet to access on his own. Through the life force, Arthur is connected to all living beings as he is the life-giving water. He is to the life-giving waters which they spring from. enabling the established supernatural link to any and all sentient entities throughout the cosmos and back towards Earth. He can use this connection to determine a being's origin, as he was able to determine that the Void Song comes from an ocean planet after being in close contact with it. Marine telepathy. While popular belief is often debated about Aquaman talking to fish or other aquatic fauna, he can hear the voice of the sea and communicate with it with many denizens living within it, along with those who spring from it. Being capable of sending out worldwide telepathic broadcasts with ease and when necessary, across space and time beyond mere oceanic psychic ability. Something Arthur has been able to do since he was very young. He was able to assume control over the mind of the great sea leviathan Topo, but with extreme levels of difficulty, as the stress of such an act left him comatose for 6 months. It seems Aquaman has developed better control over his power, as commanding Topo to sunder a dreadnought from Thol wasn't as difficult as it used to be. Transformation. Through his use of the life force, Arthur could restore fallen gods to their divine selves once again, even revitalizing them after they'd been subsumed in the primordial goddess Mother Salt. He could also use his power to keep a divine beast from overtaking Kali's body and mind, enabling her to assume its power without losing herself to it. So, his other abilities: occultism, hand-to-hand combat. Arthur has beaten Black Manta in one-on-one combat. Has been revealed that Arthur was trained by Wonder Woman. Aquaman has admitted that he has trained with Batman. Politics, master swimmer, diplomacy, swordsmanship, weaponry, mostly multi-pronged pole arms, leadership, fishing, driving, multilingualism. He speaks some Polynesian, because thanks to Jason Momoa. Weaknesses: dehydration. Aquaman dehydrates at a rate greater than an average human. So he can hang with the best of them outside of water, but over time it does affect him. Equipment: shell of sounds. Given to him by his mother, a relic that can contain recorded memories and dialogue from the user in order to convey their memories to future generations. 10th metal armor, formerly. We don't need to get into that. Okay. Trident of Poseidon. A divine blessing bestowed upon him by his previous wielder, Poseidon. The trident granted Aquaman a host of mystical powers and enchantments as a means to help him battle the Thule. Divine empowerment, weather manipulation, electrokinesis, electrical blast, hydrokinesis, hydroportation, cryokinesis, Thule magic resilience, Bane field manipulation, flight. Just so you know, Aquaman was created by Mort Weisinger and Paul Norris. And a long time ago, he did have a harpoon hand, like I mentioned. So there you go. Arthur freaking Curry. Oof, God, there's a lot. There's a lot about Aquaman. He's not just a freaky fish guy. He actually is a freaking badass. So make no freaking mistake. In case people like to downplay him, he's actually a really big deal and a reason why he's a member of the Justice League. So in the grand opening of this Atlantean embassy, the Atlantean people greeting the humans, press the press and other uh, uh, military personnel of different nations come to, you know, oversee everything. And then we meet this woman from the British Royal Navy named Joanna, who pops in. And I gotta say, I don't know what Dan was doing when creating this character, but her lines of dialogue seems very stereotypical of a Cockney person. Like, and most of her, it's like, crikey, like, blimey. I was like, did you turn into Tracer from Overwatch? Like, what's up with that? It's just like, okay, you know, it's like you're borderline stereotyping. It's like, I'm just saying, it's like, okay, do you know not how to write for a British character? But then, in disguise, there's Black Manta planting bombs and, in disguise of this reporter for the Daily Pen that he, the real person he killed, and he assumed the identity with this tech, he, in disguise. And he started to kill one of the Atlantean soldiers and cause upheaval, because Black Manta, historically, Aquaman killed his father in a fight, and ever since then swore revenge. So there's always been this like a bitter thing between these two people, not too dissimilar to how Reverse Flash is super petty against Flash. So every hero got that one person that's like this, the super petty arch villain. Like, Cheetah can be very petty against Wonder Woman. Of course, there's Lex Luthor, super petty from time to time against Superman. And, they all have one. So Aquaman, starts like going toe to toe with Black Manta. Well, he, because him and Mera fight off Black Manta, but while she's trying to protect, all the innocent civilians with her hydrokinesis from all the inrushing water, she gets injured in the process. So Joanna gets her out of there, and Merc, being like a commander of the Atlantean forces, kind of have some bit of a prejudice against the surface world, but he believes in Aquaman, so he tolerates it. So Aquaman goes toe to toe with Black Manta. So, and this is like the drowning arc. There's gonna be like the deluge arc as well. So we covering like at least 2 arcs. So, and then here's what I'm talking about. Like, look up. This is probably like the worst part of the art that I do not care. What is this? Bloody hell! It's like, is she rolling her tongue while she's doing that? Like, that's the part like, oh God, why? Bloody hell! But the dynamic between Black Manta and the dynamic of the fight between Black Manta and Aquaman looks really good, man. Just these two just going blow for blow is in this inside this rushing water, and the water depiction looks very well done. But it has to be, if you're doing art for Aquaman, the water has to be on point. It's extremely important, obviously. And of course, Aquaman's like, you know, scale armor is almost like, you know, chainmail in a way, so it can take a beating. But you know, of course, you're dealing with Black Manta, who has some level of Atlantean tech, which, you know, mixed with like human technology in order to do some bit of damage against, you know, Aquaman. So it's kind of sort of an even fight, even though Aquaman can easily, you know, I won't say can easily, but he can, uh, uh, you know, definitely outmatch Black Manta at a certain point. But in the fight, Aquaman, you know, gets the upper hand, but refuses to take Black Manta's life because, like, he realized the cycle of violence is, look, I'm not sorry that I had to kill your father because he was an evil prick, and it was like, you know, do or die kind of situation. But what I am sorry is how, like, it all shaped out essentially. Like a son lost a father, and that was wrong. I should have found like a better way, but it made me who I am regardless. But this is where it led us here. But you know, constantly coming after me, it's like, you know, without me, because your revenge on me is the only thing that's makes your life have any meaning. So go ahead, take my trident, attack me, kill me, be done with it, you know. But it's like Black Man, it's like took a minute, it's like, and he drops the trident, like, crap, you're right, like, you know, like, because, you know, just, you know, killing you is just like, you know, then what, like, what will he be after that? It's like he dedicated his life to take down Aquaman. It's like, but he can't do the job because then it's like, what's the point after that kind of situation? I feel like kind of easy in this narrative, in my opinion. It's like, you know, you can still be a pirate and make money without your arch nemesis getting in the way. But, you know, I don't know. But when you read it, it makes sense. But then you think about it for a while, it's like, you still can do it. It's like, would the Joker stop with, like, you know, Cheetah would stop? Doubt it. But then Black Manta will eventually get arrested. But because of his attack, it caused this big uproar between the United States, because, you know, there's still like a few people that died, and many have been injured in this essentially a terrorist attack, even though they know it was Black Manta who caused this. But all the, because they speaking with this not press secretary, there's this other title, something secretary of the White House Capitol, named Gantry, who's kind of like a prick. He kind of had the Atlantean embassy closed off from everybody, including the Atlantean people, because of this attack. Even though they know Black Manta was caused it, their concern is that because he was Aquaman's enemy, he causes other devastation in order to kill him. So he is like he has some, you know, he's liable for all this, I guess. So Aquaman goes to the White House to speak to everybody, while en route to prison, this secret organization called Nemo breaks out Black Manta in order to possibly recruit him. And he speaks with this woman named Blackjack, who they all got this whole pirate undersea type of shtick going on, which I kind of like. And I love the look of this woman, Blackjack, which I kind of hoped that would have been like the woman that was working alongside Black Manta in the Aquaman 2 movie. But no, I think her name in that movie was Stingray, but she could have been Blackjack, honestly. a matter of fact, has Black Jack showed up in anything else since DC Rebirth? She has to, because DC Rebirth came around 2016. No, I guess DC Rebirth is the only time she ever been brought up. She hasn't been used since, I guess, which is a shame. She seemed like a very cool character. So they want to recruit Black Manta, so they brought him to meet their leader, the Fisher King. More on that later. So now Aquaman senses, is looked to as, to be the one to blame mostly for what happened. But it's like that it wasn't his fault, so why you give him grief? But I guess it's like your embassy is under your watch. So, but then while all this is carrying on, there was an attack on a U.S. Military boat by this secret Atlantean terrorist organization called the Deluge. And so there was Atlantean artifacts left by, like a sword left embedded into the destroyed ship. Now everybody's looking at Aquaman like, oh, this gotta be an act of terrorism or act of aggression against a different nation. So Aquaman agreed to be brought into prison until things work out, because he doesn't want like an act, a war. He's trying to broker peace between the two nations, because he's half human, half Atlantean. He does not want either side of his people causing this big war, because that would destroy the whole entire world, because everybody's gonna get involved in this kind of situation. But Mira is not having any of that stuff, because he find it ridiculous. But I like it when he's being interrogated in this holding cell, and he makes this joke about how because they ask him, do you have any kind of allergies, or do we need to flood the cell for you, so we want to make this as comfortable as possible for you. And he makes this joke leaning into the fact that I'm just a fish guy, I would like the fish to talk to, maybe a turbot. And if I am deprived of whale song for over 4 hours, I will become berserk. And he just was like, what? I'm kidding, dude. I'm fine. It's just leading into the whole thing. I need a whale song. It's to soothe me. It's hilarious in my opinion. But they bring up about this, this deluge. One of us the deluge, Atlantean deluge will not tolerate U.S. this and the U.S. Encroaching on the Atlantean people, and kills a whole bunch of people on this boat. So now Aquaman is explaining to these officers, look, the deluge is this supposedly defunct terrorist, French terrorist group from Atlantis that I thought I snubbed out when I took rule over Atlantis. But apparently they're extremist who doesn't want peace between our nations. And so he explains, like, look, you guys got, like, you know, on land, you got like domestic terrorists, people who's trying to make America look bad. You got all this stuff that, you know, enemies that mostly are from America themselves, are American themselves, that will try to make America look bad. So you, of all people, should be able to understand my predicament, that, like, I'm not causing all this. It'll be like arresting the president for the acts of, well, now I say that, it's kind of wild to think, you know, in recent years, but this is back in 2016 where things was vastly different. But it was kind of wild to think that because a few domestic terrorists, that you would think to arrest a president for an act of some people. So it's kind of ironic how things change. But then after Merck investigates the, you know, site, you notice it's like an Atlantean weapon that is very ancient, very old, and somehow it was replicated. There's a lot of things that these deluge people are using, tools that are using, that supposed to be in the Atlantean and like you know, caches and other stuff that's all been accounted for, but somehow you later find out, oh, it's probably been replicated. So oh, here's the line I was mentioning earlier. Like, is America behind its, you know, president? Have you no insurrectionists, no domestic terrorists, no struggling underclass, no survivalists who reject authority? So yeah, it's like every nation has those kind of things. So it's like, it's not too beyond the pale of the imagination that Atlantis will probably have something like that too. But after arrest them, just in case, but of course, a lot of people look down on Aquaman because he's a part of the Justice League, he's like, especially Gantry make this kind of snide comment. It's like, oh, he's not, you know, he's not real Justice League. Let's be honest. It's like, he's not like somebody like Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman. It's like, come on, he's the fish guy, which is insulting because as I went over his power set and stuff, he is a badass, and people just like really underestimate Aquaman. He's not just a guy who talks to fish and only useful in water. He is extremely useful. But then Mira is like, got sick of like all this waiting, and so she just goes to this she finds out where they hold an Arthur, and she breaks him out, which kind of bothers him because he's trying to handle this peacefully and not cause a big uproar. But she just like, no, I'm saving my would-be husband, and I ain't having him I'm not going to have him in chains longer than he should have been. So like, after that, I'm rescuing my husband. They're not married, but they're planning on getting married, which causes another kind of situation in Atlantis in a little bit. But you see these guys just like wrecking shop against an army. 2 people just wrecking shop. And of course, Arthur expressly, you know, forbid Mara from using any lethal force. So this guy is like, she's ripping off the tops of tanks like she's in freaking Incredible Hulk in the Ang Lee's Hulk movie or something, and he's like catching like choppers out of the freaking air to keep him from crashing. This dude is a beast. Both of them are a beast. They're just like, you know, going full bore. They're trying to get to the water, but they're completely out of water, mind you, and they still are able to, plow right through an army. Granted, they have to be two of them to do this, but the level of like power they just barrel through is immense, and their costumes protect from like bullets and stuff. So he's able to like, well, of course they got very thick skin too to be able to handle the depths of the ocean, obviously. So they can be able to hold off a certain level of caliber of bullets. So yeah, and these two, look at them, like, oh my god, like Aquaman and Mera is like badass, and you cannot tell me they suck. Never let anybody say like, oh, Aquaman sucks. You can have proof is in the pudding if you look at it the right comics. I recommend DC Rebirth moving forward, but he is a badass. He just like, and of course he still have handcuffs on, but he can easily bust through his with he mentioned I can just bust through these cuffs with just like a flick of wrist. It's not really nothing to me. He got super strength, mind you. This is just a courteous. It's just like with in Man of Steel, him being handcuffed by the U.S. military, but it's just like it's out of courtesy. Like, he doesn't really. He if he doesn't want to be held here, you can't stop him. Honestly, it's like and he's not even just the Justice League. Most superheroes, they don't want to be held. They don't have to be held, at least in most cases. Like Cyborg, definitely Batman. Like you might have Batman in custody. He's an escapologist. You can put him in there, like in a holding cell. Your back is turned. For just like a split second, you turn around, he's just gone. Of course, like Batman, Superman. Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. They can just burst out. Cyborg can hack into systems and just break out. Static Shock can like sort of circuit everything and break out. It's like all this is just courtesy because they're just nice people. Don't get me started on Zatanna or John Constantine. They can just wave their hands and they'll be out. But then while that's going on, we see Black Manta meeting up with this Fisher King, who I imagine talking like a, like Mr. Krabs or just any stereotypical pirate, like brainy deep, pleased to meet you, swabby swabs. I just call him Mr. Krabs, pretty much. But then he, is impressed by Black Manta's skills and wants Black Manta to work for him. But of course, this is Black Manta we're talking about. He doesn't work for nobody. So he ends up, slicing this dude's neck and taking his seat of power. It's like, Riddick. It's like, keep what you kill. But then, while Mera and Aquaman is trying to get to the water, Gantry has the president call in Superman, and he shows up to try to de-escalate the situation. So he talks to Arthur, friend to friend. But, like, see, there's moments I did not care for Superman in this, where, he's your friend, and, like, he want to handle these things peacefully, but he's like completely, I won't say completely, but at least on the surface area. And given the fact that he's a freaking reporter, an investigative reporter, he should be when Aquaman is stating that, look, my people is being framed to enact a war that I'm not causing, so you'd be more inclined to like look into this and believe your friend who you work alongside with and probably went to, birthdays and holidays and all this other stuff. And this is like your friend, and you will not buy the fact that, and Aquaman even brings up to him later on, it's like, dude, how many villains have often tried to discredit you? Don't you think like that wouldn't have happened to me, especially me being a monarch? But of course, you get this obligatory fight, which I didn't care for, but uh and Aquaman just doesn't care the fact that Superman, who's supposed to be his friend, he thinks should help him more than anybody, but he feels, which Superman doesn't believe why he would think this way, but that's what Aquaman feels. I'm look pretty much, they call it something else, but basically is the black sheep of the Justice League. Oh, that's how you guys look at me. That's how I feel. And aside from, after this whole entire adventure, this is something that the Justice League should address, where it's like, I do not want a friend and a teammate to feel like they're less than the rest of us. And it's pretty much like, I think I like this here because it's pretty much like speaking to the audience or those who think Aquaman is less than as a member of the Justice League, and he's not, and he's kind of like essentially is like pleading his case to the masses of the readers that, like, that's how y'all look at me. I'm some kind of black sheep. I'm less than because I'm not Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman, but I'm more than a guy who just talks to fish. And I like this because that is true. And you can find, even somebody like Plastic Man, you can find things to like about this character. Just because he's not somebody like in the big three doesn't mean they're no less capable or important. But of course, military fights break out, and these two are on land, mind you. And now I like to think maybe because it's kind of like fighting Captain America. It's like, they're holding their own, but if Superman really wanted to, it's kind of the line from like in Spider-Man Homecoming with Iron Man saying like, trust me, kid, if Cap wanted to lay you out, he would have. And I like to see here. It's like because Aquaman made a comment to Mirror later on in the adventure. It's like, because I imagine Superman's holding back a bit, but if Superman wanted to lay you out, he could have. But then the Atlantean army shows up after they got sick of waiting, knowing that their king is in chains. It's like, okay, we're not waiting anymore. We're getting our monarch back. So you got these giant sea creatures and a whole freaking armada showing up out of the water, and everybody's in awe right now. And Superman asks, like, what are they waiting for? And Aquaman's saying, like, they're waiting for me to say attack. But he's waves his hands like go back to sea, I'm fine, relax. And Superman just, I don't like it here. This is not Superman. And they've still got the whole essence of New 52 Superman still rolling around at this point in time. Slowly but surely we're getting away from all of that during the Rebirth era. But he tells Arthur to fix this or else. And it's like, Superman wouldn't say something like that, like fix this or else. Like, he probably would have worded it a lot nicer than that, or, like say something like, look, I'm gonna give you the time that you need, but please fix this. Something like that. He wouldn't just or else. That's something like Batman would say, if anybody. But then, like, you see Black Manta setting up shop as like running Nemo. His acronym to something else. I'm blanking on it. It was like in the panel when you first introduced to Blackjack. I forgot to highlight that. But now he's taking over this organization to try to he sets his sights higher this time. Instead of just going after the man, he wants to ruin the reputation of Aquaman and all that he stands for before he actually lands a killing blow to make it satisfying. So the deluge is pretty much Nemo uh, causing subterfuge and misinformation and all this other stuff to cause an upheaval between Atlantis and the U.S. military. So once Aquaman finds out that, you know, this stolen Atlantean tech, he sees this, he goes to meet up this Atlantean criminal that prior to DC Rebirth he captured, who was part of the deluge, and he asks, like, you know what's going on, and he doesn't look at Arthur as his true king. He's half blood and, you know, breaking away from traditions. He's not with that. So he, you know, I think there was like a part, eventually he breaks out. I remember that vaguely. He breaks out at some point to try to usurp Aquaman. But he tells Aquaman, like I ain't got nothing to do with this. It literally could be anybody kind of situation. But then you got this whole situation with this the Witherhood people. With Reverend Mother Seta. There's this ritual that, you know, Mira has to go through, that she's been like, yeah, widowhood, where the ceremony she has to go through because of her X-Ball blood, pretty much like a different faction of Atlantis. Pretty much like, it's like interracial, you know, like, you know, relationship in a way, where it's like they see X-Ball people as like, you know, a different race essentially. And of course they all know Arthur and Mera love each other, but the people you know, doesn't look too fondly on X-Ball in some cases, because I guess it's like, because like that fiery spirit, I guess the whole red hair situations, like that fiery spirit, you know, stubbornness and all the other stuff was like, you know, they scoff at tradition, things like that. But there's ritual that she has to go through to be a true Atlantean royalty. You have to go through all this. So she eventually does this, even though, like, you know, in order to make sure his rule goes smoothly and people follow him to the ends of the earth, there can't be any type of question with an X-Ball wife to the monarchy. It's like, you know, she's going through the ritual, so she's good. But if she doesn't have the backing of the Widowhood and some other people of that the normal Atlantean people look up to, if they like don't have any kind of blessing, they will look at her like a true queen. But then while she's going through this ritual, Atlantis gets attacked by this behemoth sent by Black Manta and Nemo. And Aquaman's forces try to take down this thing, and it's almost akin to like Superman and the, you know, Justice League and different armies and stuff trying to deal with Doomsday for the first time. And everything they try to throw at it, this creature is adapting to it in a way. And it turns out it is the Shaggy Man. And Arthur points out that years ago, the Justice League fought the Shaggy Man to like a standstill. So now it's just Arthur and his forces trying to deal with this thing. But then they, you know, his people look into their systems and realize Atlantis is not the target. It's just in the way. The real target this creature is going to is Amnesty Bay. So now Aquaman is trying to like deal with this thing, but unfortunately, the Atlantic people cannot get out of the water. As soon as they set foot on American soil, the American people are going to assume it's like an act of aggression, so they cannot assist Arthur. As soon as he's out of the water, he's on his own. So the Shaggy Man is wrecking up shop in Amnesty Bay, and Aquaman is trying to take down this sucker. Merc, who is the only one who's standing by him, is telling him, like, yelling at him basically, dude, call your Justice League friends. Even though the millions of people can't be by your side in this moment, call your super friends. Where's the Justice League? And of course, Arthur doesn't want to call them. He feels like, I'm Aquaman. I can't call my friends to deal with my problems, which in a way is kind of like pride talking and more than anything. But he needs to be able to stand on his own 2 feet. Otherwise, what's the point of being Aquaman? So he, by himself, tries to take on the Shaggy Man, and he's getting bruised up and clothes ripping and everything like that. So he, Merc thinks like, Arthur's being bullheaded, but this is something that he has to do. So the fight, drags. But then Aquaman has an idea. So the Justice League ID card, and then not only is like security clearance to get through certain things, but it also acts as a teleportation link. So he activates it, contacts the watchtower, but alternates the direction where the teleportation will send him. So he sticks the card inside the Shaggy Man's fur and has it activate. So it teleports the Shaggy Man off of the planet itself and just teleports him straight into space. And it was a badass fight. And it was like a quick thinking on Arthur's part, because he knows he can't take down the Shaggy Man because the way it adapts to all kinds of fights. So the best way is just to get him off the planet altogether. So now he's like, he fell unconscious and he's getting dragged to the hospital. Mera, in like a little interlude here, during her ritual, one of the widowhood sisters having this vision of a wild Mera drowning the entire planet, destroying every living thing after a prophesied death of their king. Through her grief would turn her rage against the world. And of course Mera's not buying that, because like, that's not me, I will never do that. But the widowhood mother is like, well, now you wouldn't, but that's because the king is not dead. If something ever happens to him, you will lose your mind in grief and take your vengeance out on the planet. And that's why we can't have you as the queen, because that will be a danger to everybody. Then of course she's not having any of this. She leaves off to go find some kind of breather. So she goes to Amnesty Bay before one of the sisters like lets out like a warning. It's like I was like, heed the house of light, for there the name of the enemy is hid. So as soon as she gets on land, all that stuff started to come to fruition little by little. The House of Light, lighthouse from Amnesty Bay, the Howl, the dog, and there's this like letter left by Joanna, the Navy soldier, asking for Arthur's help and meet her meet her at this restaurant. Mira finds it and meet her, and she gets info about this Nemo organization from her. And that's when, because one of the members there is her father that tried to recruit her a long time ago. And now that she obviously knows too much, one of the people figured like she can, they can assassinate her and what they assume would be Arthur, but it actually be Mira, thinking that they're gonna whack two birds with one stone. Of course, they gravely underestimate Mira's ability. He tried to like blow her up, but she used her hydrokinesis to contain the blast and toss it out. Then she comes to realize what had happened to Arthur, so she goes to the hospital to come comfort him. And that's when at least 4 members of the Justice League, Flash, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, and Superman come to his bedside to see how he's doing. And to remind him that he will always be their friend and he will always have their support no matter what. But he mentions that there are a third party in this situation that's trying to cause upheaval. So he goes to his allies to try to get evidence to prove Atlanta's innocence in this whole ordeal. And of course, you get like a moment with like Barack Obama, because the popular guy around that time. But then Black Manta, even though Nemo had limited resource, he set up these hit and run attacks, pretending it's Atlantis, and attacking certain areas around the globe. So now America is declaring war on Atlantis, essentially. So Gantry meets these Aquamarines set up by this soldier, where these soldiers going through these experimental these experiments that help them utilize certain amphibious abilities in order to be able to traverse through the waters, planning an assassination attack on Aquaman himself. Then the Justice League show up to Atlantis, and they're like, Arthur, you promised. And it's like, dude, come on, you know full well this is not him. And it's like, you don't give him like the benefit of the doubt. But they show up, he shows them evidence, and one of Arthur's lead scientists, who has information that Batman looks over, and he's like, this is impressive detective work. And Arthur's like, wow, that is the biggest compliment you're ever going to get from this guy. But he realized nobody from Atlantis can't directly hand this over to the White House, so he needs an intermediary. So he asked Superman to go along with one of his people to show off this evidence, so that way they can at least have a ceasefire while they look into this. So the Justice League goes, they say like, look, we can help you, but Arthur explains to them, no, I gotta handle this on my own. This is my responsibility. I can't have you guys, pick up my slack or every time something goes down. Then it's just like, it means nothing if I have to have you guys, defend me every time. I'm a king. It's my responsibility. I gotta handle this myself. So he goes to one of these supposed American subs, but it's not really an American sub, and he sees Joanna's father, who's working for Nemo, and because they can't have none of them being caught alive, each one of the members of Nemo has an essentially like a Suicide Squad implant situation in their heads. So Black Manta sets one off so that way nobody's left alive for Arthur to question, which leaves, no pun intended, Arthur sunk until well, we'll get into that in a minute. Then while he's speaking with his war council and other advisors, the Aquamarines show up, and in an attempt to assassinate Arthur, most of the council gets killed and a couple gets wounded, and Arthur and Mera fight them off and manage to capture them. Now this infuriates Mera and Merc, but Arthur is like, no, they think it's a war crime. Arthur's like, no, that's military strategy. It's like, assassinate the head of a rogue nation will easily defeat the purpose of a wider, bloodier fight later on, a possible fight later on. But because he's trying to keep a cool head on this situation. So he makes a statement to his people that he's going to try one last peaceful solution, but if it doesn't work, he'll willingly step down because he'll see himself not fit to lead. But one of his lead scientists brings him a piece of evidence of, because the post that was being used to enact that explosive device is reminiscent of something that Aquaman uses to communicate telepathy towards marine life. So he's using his powers in order to follow that back to the movable base of operations of Black Manta. Of course, this is where he's making the statement to his people. And then realizing, oh my God, it was Black Manta who's leading it. It's like, of course it has to be him. I should have known it had to be him. Even though you probably should have double checked if Black Manta should have, because why nobody, now I'm thinking about it, why didn't nobody notify any proper authorities about the escape of Black Manta and the attack on the vehicle that was holding him? There was nothing like that, and that should have been a big tip off, or at least a concern of the authorities that Black Manta escaped. That's kind of wild to me. That should have been like a first thing come to mind. Like at least like if Arthur kind of double check and see if like Manta, of course he has other things to worry about, but it's like you should have gone through like a list of people that might want to cause infighting between Atlantis and the surface world. He talked with this former Deluge terrorist that he has chained up. He should have also gone through, okay, how many other enemies do I have? Oh, Black Manta. Let's see where Black Manta is at. Is he in prison right now? No? Okay. Now how about we check and see what's going on with him? It's kind of wild. That wouldn't be the first thing they would have come up with. But Aquaman fights off all these forces inside this boat and went toe-to-toe with Black Manta. And Black Manta explains to him, like, I'm just doing what you suggested. I'm expanding my horizons. Essentially, like, I'm gonna like tear down everything that means anything to you, your entire reputation, so nobody will ever trust you again or your people. But Black Manta throws a Hail Mary knowing he's about to lose. He blows up an entire ship. He seemingly died. Of course he didn't. And then he takes all the evidence straight to the president himself with Superman in tow, and lets everybody know, and Gantry, who've been completely disrespectful to him all this time he's been knowing him. And like, I love this line from Arthur is telling him, like, you know, Mr. Gantry, I wasn't addressing you. I'm addressing the President of the United States. Whenever you speak to me, you better address me as Your Majesty. Just like, you know, like, just show, like, you know, like, when you use my name, you better show some goddamn fucking respect. I'm a fucking king of a fucking nation. You better act like you know some fucking body. So I love this. I love this from Arthur. And he addressing the President of the United States, like, you try to have me assassinated. Now, what makes you think that as a leader of a nation, of people who sees this act of aggression, won't, or you don't think they won't or even consider the idea of trying to pull the exact same thing on you? And like, I'm being like as gracious as possible here. Like, because like, you know, war doesn't help nobody. There's nobody walking away peacefully. There's only winners and losers. So I'm here, you know, dropping like his trident right on the desk of the president. It's like, you know, I'm here to formally surrender. Not because we're weak, because like, you know, I just want to handle this peacefully as possible. Like, but just keep you in mind, like, all these people who got guns on me and stuff like that doesn't mean crap to me. I'm a superhuman king of a nation. I can kill you and all of you within no time flat if I really wanted to, but I won't, because like, I'm a decent person and I'm just trying to work with you here. So it ends with, you know, a complete cease of the, you know, aggression between the nation of the U.S. and Atlantis. You see Blackjack crawling from the wreckage of the ship. Obviously, she's gonna make a return, try to get revenge on Aquaman, and then of course you still got the situation with the widowhood sisters and the prophecy of Mera might cause a downfall of Atlantis and the surface world. So maybe I'll circle back to, at some point in the future, I might circle back to Aquaman Rebirth and do maybe another 15 issues and see where the next couple of arcs going to take us. But yeah, this was like a solid story. It's a very good, solid story. I love DC Rebirth. It was like a, you know, one of the, you know, the best comics that I've read from DC. There's been good stuff since then, here and there, but man, I love this era of DC, like, the, you know, the most. It's like, it's my favorite era of DC of all time. But there will be more Rebirth stories I want to get to, because I want to handle like certain stories. Like, I already done like, you know, at least quite a few Batman stories, but I want to do like another Superman one, another Wonder Woman. I don't think I've done any Wonder Woman. You know, Cyborg. You know, at least the core roster of the Justice League before I do like a Justice League story altogether. But yeah, that was Aquaman Rebirth. That was fun. I really enjoyed rereading this. Highly recommend it. And of course, you know, eventually there's Ocean Master and other people going to show up in this 66 issue adventure. But this is just the first 15. But leave a comment below. Let me know if you want me to like pick up the next couple of arcs of Rebirth, pick up Rebirth, you know, Aquaman Rebirth again, and continue on and see what's, you know, else is happening. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think, and like and share this with your friends. I will see you guys in a little bit later on to play a couple of hours of Overwatch 2, for more of the Winter Wonderland stuff, and then after that I'll give myself a couple of days break, but happy holidays otherwise. And the next comic I'll be reviewing will be X-Men Onslaught event, so look forward to that. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, be safe.